Long have we waited, and now the review is here. What's up, guys? So we are going to be reviewing Episode 9 of Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker in this video. So, as you can clearly see, we got Haven, little Haven, and we got Dylan here, who's going to be helping me review this movie. So, without any further ado, let's get into it. So, to start out, we saw this. We saw the trailer. Let's go over the trailer first. What did you think looking at the trailer?
I did not watch the trailer at all.
You didn't watch the trailer whatsoever?
No.
Well, when I saw the trailer, I thought it was going to be fantastic. I thought it was a perfect trailer. I think what they should have done, though, I feel like they kind of revealed a little bit too much of the story overall. You look like an Ewok. But, I feel like they kind of revealed a little bit too much. But anyways.
The only thing I did not like about the trailer was Palpatine coming back. I think I'll get into that in my review of the movie.
So we're going to go on into the review. Now, let's go from the start.
Okay.
So the start, where they started on Kylo Ren just straight up murking an entire planet. I thought that was cool. I thought that was really cool. It showed us that he was a really powerful being, a really powerful Sith. I like that. I believe that it was a little bit. It kind of reminded me of Anakin almost in episode 2 where he slaughtered the entire village. It almost reminded me of that. You remember? He once his mother died.
I prefer to not remember the prequels.
Well, the prequels, we're not big fans of them, but we still have to remember some of them. But yeah, the opening was fantastic. I thought that was almost perfect. But then as the story kept going, they start to go after. They find out Kylo Ren. After that, he finds the Sith holocron, which is not a holocron.
Wayfinder.
Yeah.
Sith Wayfinder.
But it looked like a holocron.
Well, it was called the Wayfinder.
But he finds this Sith Wayfinder, and
looks like a triangular prism.
It does. And he puts it in his ship, and he travels to this Sith homeworld of Exegol, which I'm so confused because there was another Sith homeworld, which was not called Exegol, but whatever. But I felt like it was cool when we first, when he landed and then he went into the ancient Sith. He started going down on this weird elevator type thing.
I think that was too flashy because I have seizures and motherfuckers with epilepsy gonna be up in the theater breakdancing during that scene.
Yeah.
During any scene on Exegol.
Yeah, Exegol. It was it started to hurt my eyes a little bit, but I felt like it was kind of right almost for that. But
I did not like how they didn't make us wait at all to see Palpatine.
Yeah, they kind of just
pretty
went
much had him
into
in
it.
there within the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, and I didn't understand that. I thought they were gonna wait till probably halfway through, but they didn't. But there's a lot of stuff that's wrong with this movie, but we're gonna keep going. When he got down into the Sith ancient Sith hallway, and he was walking, and then he hears Palpatine. I thought that was cool, hearing his voice and stuff. But then he sees these people working. There's this weird.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. Were they just?
What?
Were they just there?
Yeah, and I don't understand. Do these people just live there? It doesn't really explain anything. I wish there was some old Sith markings that he would have saw, some almost what you see in old cave paintings. I wish they would have seen some of that. Maybe that would have given a better explanation, would have made the scene a lot cooler. But then you just walk in, and then you just see this weird clone of Snoke just in a weird
jar or something.
I didn't understand that. But then he's saying that, oh yeah, I created Snoke, and I did all this. I'm every voice you've heard in the past year. And then when you actually see Palpatine, like a zombie almost.
Yeah, you don't get to get a good look at him, but like you can tell he's pretty fucking ugly.
Yeah, it's like they like he's been dead for like 20, 30 years, and they decided, okay, let's make him come back to life.
Yeah, pretty much.
But there's, oh Lord, it was cool looking, but it just didn't seem right for Palpatine's character.
I don't think they should have brought him back, and I definitely don't think that Rey should have been a Palpatine because that just seems kind of like forced.
Yeah, and
It's like they just needed a big villain, and they just had her, and they're like, oh,
well, yeah, and you know, as that story kept going, I mean, they kind of took their time with revealing that, you know, she was a Palpatine. But I mean, at the same time though, it like, why didn't they, like, they should have definitely have done something in episode 8. But we're not going to talk about episode 8.
they took their time
because
revealing
goodness
it,
gracious.
but at the same time, they also just like came right out and he said it to her. Because I didn't know. Well, obviously I knew because I read online before I watched the movie. But like, if you're just going into it blind, you really don't know until Palpatine actually says it himself.
Yeah.
And it's just like, whoa.
So we're gonna fast forward now. About halfway through, you can like see where like they find this old Jedi bounty hunter sort of, and he has like this ancient Sith dagger that has the markings for the Wayfinder, and like only C3PO can read it.
But he
can't read it. The one language that he can't read. Well, he can read it, but he can't tell you what it says. So then they find that, and then, you know, Chewie gets captured because Rey wants to, you know, take on Kylo Ren by herself. Which, I mean, I thought
There's a scene where Chewie gets captured and he gets taken off in like a transport, and then it gets blown up, and it leads you to believe that he died. But I mean, anyone who's a good Star Wars fan will know they wouldn't just kill off Chewie like that and so unceremoniously.
Yeah, especially if you watch the trailer too, because you could see in like the later scenes, Lando Calrissian was in the Millennium Falcon with Chewie, so it's like, why did you put that in the trailer if you wanted Chewie to act like he was dead? And then like Rey just stops it because she's just that powerful, and because
I mean, she doesn't stop it; she blows it up.
well, yeah, but she stops it at first from like taking off, but then she shocks it with Force lightning, which I think that was kind of an indicator of Palpatine. But, you know, I feel like they should have done that earlier in the trilogy, because then that kind of would have made more sense. That's just me. It's just me. I'm not gonna say anything about it because there's a lot of stuff that I do differently in this trilogy.
One thing I didn't like was they just kind of like shove the old characters in there, like Lando. He really didn't. He like helped them out a little bit in the first half, and then he didn't really show up until the end when they were like getting ready to go to Exegol.
Yeah.
Also, Leia, I'm personally, I'm gonna talk about episode 8 because you kind of have to, but like
Yeah, you kind of
when
do.
she was floating in space, I think that would have been a good scene for her to die, because as we all know, she died in real life like 3 years ago. So they kind of had to use a lot of technology to get her scenes in there, and they had to use old scenes. And like, I get that she kind of is the reason that Kylo Ren turned to the light side, but at the same time, it kind of just feels like they had her in there a little bit too long. The only recurring character I like to see was Luke, and it's only because he was not in there for like more than 5 minutes, and his scene was one of my favorites, definitely.
Yeah, which we're going to get into. So, Rey travels to this world where the Death Star was destroyed, and it fell to the
Death
planet.
Star 2.
Death Star 2. And, you know, she's looking through the rubble. She steals this. She's just trying to look for it. And then this weird vault opens where the Emperor was sitting. There's like a door off to his right, our left, and the door opens, and there it is. But then she finds her alternate ego where she's a Sith, which I thought was cool. I actually liked that
It took
scene.
me a minute to understand that was her, because it kind of looked like a different person at first. Like maybe it was like her mom or something.
Yeah, I think what was cool about that scene, because if you watch Star Wars: The Clone Wars, there's a scene where there's an episode where Yoda is trying to learn how to have the power to exist after the Force, after he dies, to live through the Force, and he battles his dark side self, which I thought was really cool. And the way that they tied that into this movie was pretty cool. But then once they battle for a little bit, she gets pushed out, and then that's the end of that.
Then again, it's kind of like the same thing they did with Luke when he was on Dagobah, and he was battling Darth Vader, but then it ended up being him. Kind of feels like the same thing they did there.
Yeah, which, I mean, this whole movie was kind of like paying tribute to like all of the films that have been made.
I get that because it's the last film in the franchise, but I think they really should have done their own thing.
Yeah,
they relied too heavily on the old movies and the old characters.
Yeah, they did. They really did. I mean, I think, after Rey like battles herself, Kylo shows up, and they have this really amazing lightsaber duel. But it was so sloppy because it just looked like Rey was trying to just swing it around just to hopefully hit one another.
I think that's what she was doing towards the end. She was getting like tired.
Yeah, but she was like so. But at the same time, though, it just seemed like they were swinging wildly, and when you look at the prequels, even though the prequels aren't the greatest, the one thing that's constant is the amazing lightsaber duels that took place. Darth Maul in Episode 1 with Qui-Gon Jinn, and Obi-Wan, General Grievous. In Episode 3 with Obi-Wan, and then Count Dooku, Yoda, Obi-Wan, Anakin. Those are all great duels. But yeah, that's a big complaint I have throughout this entire trilogy, though. The lightsaber duels just weren't that good. And I feel like they should have been.
Was Han Solo just like a memory? Or like, what was that about? Because he wasn't a Jedi ghost.
So like after... For those of you who have watched, after they do this lightsaber duel between them, Rey stabs Kylo, and I kind of knew that Kylo was going to die in this film, but I was like,
he doesn't die when she stabs him.
No, but then Rey just like has the ability to just like save this dude multiple times, like just touches him. And just has the Force regenerate Kylo. Like, I don't understand how she learned that power. Like, that power is so OP, and like Rey is so OP throughout this entire trilogy. I wish that they would have just shown her like being taught some of these things.
There's a lot of stuff the movie leaves unanswered, like why is Finn is Force sensitive. They don't even explain that at all.
Yeah, they
don't explain like why Han Solo's there, if that's just like a memory, or if he was somehow connected to the Force, if he was like a Jedi ghost.
Well, he was a memory in Kylo, because you remember he said, Kylo said, "You're just a memory."
Okay.
And then he was like explaining that. I think that was a really cool scene, though. I think when Kylo and Han Solo were like talking, I think that was really awesome. That was like one of the best scenes that I've seen in any Star Wars film, because it was so real. And then he says the same line, I don't know if I have the strength to do it. And then, saying the same line he did when he killed Han Solo, and then throwing his lightsaber into the sea. I think that was really cool. It made me smile. That was awesome.
The thing I hate the most about this movie is definitely Finn's character. They did nothing for him. He had a few lines, and it was mostly just him screaming or yelling Rey. And somehow he has the Force. I really hate that they did not answer that question of why he does have it. But it's just like they didn't do anything with his character at all, and he was just in there because he was in the previous films. It feels like.
Yeah, they really didn't do anything with Finn's character. I kind of just was like, why? Like why? He's such a good character. Why are you not capitalizing on him at all? But I guess that's that for Finn. So when Rey steals his ship and travels to Exegol,
She travels to Exegol on Luke's X-wing.
She travels to Luke's the place where Luke went into hiding. she's like she's throwing the wood at it, and then she takes the lightsaber out and throws it, and then Luke catches it. I thought that was a cool moment, and it was kind of funny throwing some shade at Episode 8, where he's like, this lightsaber should be treated with more respect, because in Episode 8, Luke takes Rey's lightsaber and just chucks it into the sea, and I thought that was pretty funny. A little jab there. But then they have this little talk about it, and then Rey's like, well, I don't have a ship to continue to like fight the Emperor. So then Luke picks up the ship, kind of paying tribute to Episode 5, when Yoda picks up his old ship. That was cool. Then Rey gets in this fighter, travels to Exegol, and leaves a little marker for the Resistance. So then she gets there, and she gets out, and she walks into the same spot that Kylo did earlier in the film. Walks down the Sith hallway, and then Palpatine's there. It's almost, I didn't understand why, like, I guess he just knew that she was coming or something.
No, he was like all the Sith.
Yeah, and then it kind of made sense to me, but I thought it would have been better if maybe like he would have like sensed her like walk in, but it just kind of seemed cheap when he's just standing there just like waiting. It's like if you said, oh yeah, meet me at this restaurant at like 5:30, and I'm there at 5, and then I'm just waiting for you to walk in. It's like,
Another thing is the Palpatine had about like thousands of Star Destroyers, all equipped with like planet-destroying cannons.
God.
And the whole buildup is like that he's got this massive army, and it seems like it's like no problem for the Resistance to just get in there and like wreck his shit, because like they really did not do anything for them at all.
Yeah,
They blew up one planet.
I just didn't. I don't like that so much about this, because there's just like, oh yes, every Star Destroyer now has a planet-killing device. It's like their own Death Star is like on every single Star Destroyer, and I don't understand why they did that. I think a Star Destroyer in and of itself is so good either way. Why would you? It just seemed really cheap to me why they kept doing that.
Let's talk about the final fight scene between
Yeah.
Rey and Palpatine.
So-
he has a lot of grievances with this
Oh
fight scene.
God! So, what I loved about that scene, I loved it when you see all the Sith that have ever lived. They're like sitting on this weird palladium.
That's who those were?
Yeah, those were all the Sith that
Oh,
ever lived.
I
That's
thought they
why.
were just like random
That's
spectators.
that's who they were. So that's all the Sith, which I thought was very cool. It's a very cool moment. And then Palpatine's like, strike me down, and then you will take my place as Emperor. And he's at this point, the Resistance has no support. They're losing ships left and right. There's like hardly any of them left. And then Rey's like, okay, I'll do it. So they start the whole ritual, and then Kylo Ren shows up, and I liked it when Rey takes out her lightsaber, and she's about to do it and puts it behind her head, and then it transfers over to Kylo Ren. That was cool. I liked that. And then that whole fight scene takes place. Then Palpatine has both of them there, and I thought it was awesome the way that he was so easily able to defeat them, because it kind of shows how powerful he really is.
I didn't like how he just kind of like pushed Kylo Ren off, and then he was just gone till the end of the battle.
Yeah, when he took all the life from them, though, it kind of made sense, though, because when he took all the life from them and then put it into himself, that way he could be normal again, and then just pushed him off. It kind of made sense to me.
It
But
felt like a waste.
it did, but I guess they were like going for, this is Rey's story and not anybody else's. And then so after that, Palpatine shocks the sky with his Force lightning, and then all the ships that have come up from out of the blue, just any ship that could help out with the resistance. He destroys the entire fleet, and they're just falling and falling and falling. And then Ray is she doesn't have the strength to get up. And then you hear all the Jedi like talk to her. I think it was Aayla Secura that talked to her, Mace Windu, Obi-Wan,
Yoda.
That
When I heard Yoda, it was awesome.
Yeah, when
I
I heard
keep this PG-13.
When I heard Qui-Gon Jinn, that was cool. Like when I heard Qui-Gon, that's the one voice I really wanted to hear. And then you hear Anakin, which I thought was cool, which was voiced by Aiden Christensen.
Hopefully he's gotten better at acting.
Good. It sounded that way.
20 years.
But then she gets up and she pulls out Leia's lightsaber, and then what was really awkward to me was when he force lightnings her, and then she blocks it with the lightsaber. She's really like holding on for dear life.
Yeah.
And then she takes out Kylo's lightsaber and just like puts them both together.
No, it was
Well, it was
Luke
Luke's.
and Leia's
It was Luke
lightsabers.
Luke and Leia's. But then she puts them together, and then Palpatine is like trying to hold back, but all the strength of the Jedi are in her, and he says I am all the Sith, and she says, well, I am all the Jedi, and just pushes, and then all the lightning gets forced back onto him, which I think that is a very hard skill to also master too, like pushing lightning back onto someone else, which is something Mace Windu had the ability to do in Episode 3.
Didn't help him out too much.
No, but I wish that like it would have made better sense to me if they would have just had it to where the main Jedi were there, and like they were like transferring their abilities to her, that way she could know. It's almost like she just is so OP, and she just knows how to do all this, and it made me so irritated how she just knew all this. But then she pushes it back on him, and then he just evaporates. But I just wish there was a lightsaber duel between them. Just not even long, like a minute, maybe even like 30 seconds. I would have been happy with that. But like, that's all it was. And then he's just defeated. And then all of a sudden Rey collapses, and here comes Kylo out from the abyss, and then transfers life back to Rey, which was cool. In the earlier scene when she saved his life, he saved hers, and then that kiss.
I did not enjoy the kiss at all. I think that was completely unnecessary.
It was like the most awkwardest kiss that you could ever think of.
They just kiss and then he just dies.
Yeah. I mean, I think the reaction afterwards was good between the two of them, but before and during, it was like,
oh, you've been a Sith for the past 2 movies, and I'm in love with you now.
Yeah, but it almost felt unnecessary, but it kind of was like, yeah, you know what, I'll let this slide.
So after the battle with Palpatine, a bunch of stuff happens, a big celebration, and then Rey goes back to Tatooine, to Luke's old house. She buries the 2 lightsabers and somehow pulls a yellow lightsaber out of her ass. No explanation as to where that comes from. It's just there now. And I don't understand why they would introduce a yellow lightsaber if it's the end of the Skywalker saga. It just seems kind of pointless.
Yeah, if you don't know, like if you aren't a big Star Wars fan and you don't know all the different colors, it kind of is like, oh, what does that do?
It just looks cool.
Yeah, that's really all it is. But I mean, if you read and like about it, then it's kind of like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. But I wish they would have like added just another 15 minutes of her like finding that holocron and just like building her own lightsaber. That would have been nice. That would have been cool. But I think the ending though was cool when you see Luke and Leia. But I wish that you would have seen all the Jedi just there.
At least Luke and Leia and Yoda, and maybe Anakin.
Yeah,
But definitely Yoda should have been in there.
yeah, I just wish that all the Jedi were there and they kind of like bowed to her, not as like she's their master or anything, just like out of respect. Like
I don't think they should have bowed to her. I mean, that would have been a little extra, but it would have been nice to see them all.
Yeah, there's just so many like better things that this movie could have done, but I have to say, J.J. Abrams took something from Episode 8, which Episode 8, you really don't even need Episode 8, honestly.
They kind of just fucked the whole thing up by switching directors for one movie.
Yeah, and what?
Because J.J. Abrams has thing, and then they're like, oh no, and then J.J. Abrams is back. So it's kind of like picking up like with 7, but 8's there, so you just have to deal with that as well.
And I really feel like, you know, if you watch, I like Episode 7. I enjoy Episode 7. Episode 7 is a great film. J.J. Abrams did a phenomenal job. But then Casey comes in and just is like, okay, here's your idea, J.J. Well,
Casey didn't direct Episode 8. Ryan Johnson directed.
Oh, is it Ryan? I thought it was Kate. Okay, never mind. Ryan Johnson. When he directs Episode 8, he takes J.J. Abrams' great idea and he's like, you know what? Miss me with that. I'm just gonna make my own. And then he just makes his own. And then, you know, J.J. is left to like really take these remnants and just make this into whatever he can. I'm impressed with what he did with what he had, but at the same time, I wish like they would have just been like, you know what? Let's just scrap Episode 8. Let's redo Episode 8 J.J. Abrams' way, and then let's just do Episode 9. I would have been fine with that. Would I have been upset?
They would have been
Yes.
confused though, because they're like, if they're like Star Wars Episode 8, they would have been like, well, that's already come out.
Or if they would have just made this film into 2 films, because he kind of fit
Oh, I
like
would not have liked
he
that.
kind of fit like 3 movies into like 1 movie, and he's trying to like make all this make
Well, if
sense.
they would have made it into 2 parts, then you'd be left hanging for like another 3 years to figure out how things got resolved.
But I would have liked it better because you would have had another 2.5-hour movies, 2.5-hour movies.
But then it would have been like 4 movies instead of a trilogy.
Well, yeah, which would have been a little bit of a knockoff for a lot of fans, but at the same time, I feel like it would have done a lot better for the fans overall. But anyways, guys, that's our review of Star Wars. Now,
Let's give it a rating out of 10.
oof,
I would say 6. 6 out of 10.
yeah, I'd have to agree. I'd say a 6. It, you know, JJ, you know, one of the best directors of this decade. Especially for us, for our generation, but just Ryan Johnson just messed everything up for you, JJ, and I feel bad. But you know, this is a good film. It is a good film, but
It's worth seeing, but if you're like a die-hard Star Wars fan, expect to be pissed off with a couple of things.
yeah, you'll definitely be upset about a few things. But overall, I mean, it's a good film. Would I watch it again? Yeah, but I wouldn't enjoy it as much as I did the first time because now I understand like everything that happens in the movie, and it's just gonna make me more upset when I watch it again. But anyways, guys, that's our review of Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. So we're gonna do a video a little bit later today, probably, and it'll be about all the Star Wars movies. I'm talking about the Star Wars saga, episode 1 through 9, not Rogue One.
Skywalker saga.
Yeah, that's what I said.
You said Star Wars saga.
Oh, sorry, Skywalker saga. We're gonna do all of those, episode 1 through 9, not including Rogue One or Solo, and we're gonna.
Don't expect any of the prequels to make my top.
Yeah, don't
6.
don't expect those to make a big impact, but yeah, so stay tuned for that, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like this video, give it a subscribe, hit that subscribe button so that you can get notifications when we make a new content video, and you know, share this with your friends.
You want to subscribe.
Yes, you do. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace, guys.